There's a moment every archaeologist knows. You're brushing dirt away from something buried for thousands of years, and suddenly you realize this person died badly. Maybe there's an arrowhead lodged between their ribs. Maybe their head is in the wrong place. Maybe someone carved a curse and slipped it into their coffin. 2025 gave us more of those moments than usual. I'm David Miano, historian of antiquity. Today we are examining the most disturbing archaeological discoveries announced this year. This is not sensationalism. Every story comes from peer-reviewed publications and official reports. Understanding the violence in our past does not diminish history, it makes it human. Let's begin. Discovery number 1: the woman with her head in her hands. We begin in southern France, where excavators opened an ordinary storage pit and found something inexplicable. A woman lay at the bottom, positioned on her back, limbs slightly bent in the normal burial posture for the late Neolithic period, around 2700 to 2600 BCE. Except her head was not attached. Someone had removed it from her spine and placed it on her chest. Then they positioned her right hand beneath the severed head as though she were cradling it. The site is Puy-Serguier. The pit was likely a cellar during life. Pottery connects it to the Verazian cultural horizon. In every other respect, this follows standard mortuary practices for individual burials. Normal burial with one chilling modification. Researchers cannot determine whether decapitation occurred before or after death. The staging is clearly intentional, but the meaning remains lost. The woman was between 20 and 49 years old. Someone knew her. Someone chose this arrangement. And that choice echoes across 5 millennia, preserved beneath what was once someone's basement. For years, the T-shaped pillars at sites like Göbekli Tepe seemed vaguely anthropomorphic. Some had carved arms and hands, but their tops remained blank. Until October 6, 2025, excavators at Karahan Tepe announced that one pillar, 12,000 years old, bears a face. Deep-set eye sockets, sharply modeled cheeks, a prominent nose. The pillar stands in a sunken courtyard surrounded by other monoliths. Imagine entering at dawn. Blank pillars stand silent, but one is watching. The find comes from Turkey's Tas Tepeler project, documented by the Ministry of Culture. This changes everything. The T-pillars aren't just architecture. They are people, ancestors, deities, founders, or beings we don't have words for. When people gathered here 12,000 years ago, they did so under stone eyes that have been staring for 120 centuries. On Peru's north coast, excavators opened a tomb at the Puy Mape temple complex and found bodies stacked face down. Multiple individuals with hands tied behind their backs, ropes still visible 2,300 years later. Some show ligature marks at the neck. No grave goods, no respect. Osteological analysis revealed perimortem cranial trauma. Dating clusters around 300 BCE. The tomb sits beside a much older temple built around 1000 BCE, long abandoned. The location was deliberate, connecting violence to an ancestral shrine. Archaeologists from the National University of San Marcos suggest human sacrifice performed in deference to sacred ancestors. But prone burial with bound limbs is extremely atypical in Andean prehistory. This isn't normal funerary practice. Someone wanted these people face down, bound, pressed into earth beside an ancient temple. DNA analysis is underway to determine who they were. That's not burial, that's erasure. Discovery number 4: the altar with drainage. In the Elazig plain of eastern Turkey, excavators found a temple designed for performances you would not want to witness. At its center, a stone altar scored with knife cuts. From the altar's edge, someone carved a channel running to a deep pit. The channel and pit contained human teeth and bone fragments mixed with animal remains. This was functional infrastructure for managing blood during ceremonies involving sacrifice. The courtyard included podiums for observers and ritual hearths. Later excavations uncovered a second altar decorated with a bull's head. Stratigraphic analysis dates it to approximately 6,000 years ago, one of the earliest ritual architectures in the upper Euphrates basin. This was not random violence, it was engineered violence, a permanent stage designed to drain sacrifice fluids. Someone designed this courtyard, carved that channel at the right angle, excavated a pit at the right depth. 6,000 years ago, a community built permanent infrastructure for ceremonies involving blood and carefully managed death. Discovery 5. The arrow still inside. High in the Catalan Pyrenees, archaeologists found a human rib with a flint arrowhead embedded inside it. The bone shows signs of healing. The arrow entered from behind, suggesting a surprise attack. It threaded between ribs without hitting anything fatal, and it stayed there while the victim survived. Days or weeks passed, long enough for bone to begin remodeling around the foreign object. The excavation at Roc de les Orenettes has uncovered 6,000 plus bone fragments from at least 60 individuals, herders who used this high mountain cemetery. Radiocarbon dating brackets the event, roughly from 2550 to 2150 BCE. Someone climbed this mountain pass 4,000 years ago. Someone drew a bow, aimed and released. The arrow struck from behind. The victim survived at first. The bone began to heal, but the arrow remained lodged until death. Then it remained in the rib for 4 more millennia. The mountains were not peaceful. Violence could find you even at 1,800 meters altitude. They were resodding a neighborhood soccer field in Vienna's simmering district. The backhoe uncovered a heap of men, at least 129 individuals, likely over 150. All were young adult males. All were deposited hastily in a battlefield grave after catastrophic violence. No organization, no funeral rites, no careful placement, just bodies dumped when normal Roman procedure, cremation, was abandoned. Nails from military boots peppered the soil. A specific type of dagger helps with dating. Radiocarbon dates and the artifacts point to a period from 80 to 130 CE, when Rome under Emperor Domitian fought along the Danube frontier. Finding mass inhumation of battle casualties this size in this region is unprecedented. You are looking at a grave this chaotic only when battle was so brutal that survivors could not maintain protocols. Only one victim is confirmed Roman. Ongoing DNA and isotope analysis should reveal who these men were: Roman legionaries, auxiliaries, Germanic fighters, or a mix. For now, the field remains quiet. 129 plus violent deaths occurred in one terrible day, 1,900 years ago. Beneath an 18th century hospital in Orleans, France, archaeologists uncovered a Roman cemetery. More than 60 male burials, each in painted wooden coffins. 21 coffins contained rolled lead tablets. These were Depictiones, curse tablets, letters to underworld gods, invoking harm upon enemies. The ritual was simple: scratch your curse onto lead, roll it tight, pierce it with an iron nail, and deliver it to the underworld via the dead. The corpse becomes your messenger. One tablet was found between a man's legs, alongside coins and a vase. Scientists virtually unrolled it using reflectance imaging and X-ray tomography. The text was in Gaulish, not Latin. It invoked Mars to target named enemies, possibly Mars Regisamo. Finding Gaulish on Roman-era curses is rare. Finding so many tablets inside graves rather than in springs or wells is unprecedented. Apparently, someone believed curse tablets carried more legal weight if a dead person delivered them. They rolled the lead. They drove nails through it. They buried their dead with dark prayers, sending spirits into darkness with supernatural sub-poenas against the living. Magic with protocols. Magic with proper channels. Discovery number 8. The Headless Bog Woman. In October 2023, peat workers near Bellaghy, Ireland, uncovered human remains that were initially labeled a teenage boy. New osteological analysis in 2025 corrected that, identifying a young woman, approximately from 17 to 22 years old, who lived between 343 and 1 BCE. Her skull is missing. Cut marks on the cervical vertebrae indicate deliberate decapitation. The head was removed and taken away. That combination points to a violent death. Researchers suggest ritual sacrifice, fitting the pattern of British and Irish bog bodies that show stabbing, bludgeoning, hanging, or beheading. This case raises questions about ritual and violence in the past. Preservation extends beyond bones. Reports note surviving skin and even a kidney. A fragment of woven plant-based fabric was found with the body. The preservation is remarkable. She is now named the Ballymacombs Moor Woman. Here is what makes her unusual. Most British and Irish bog bodies are male. Finding a well-preserved female upends trends and may change how archaeologists think about Iron Age ritual roles. She was young, she was killed. Her head was removed. The bog kept her for over 2,000 years. The decapitation caused her death, cutting short a life we will never fully know. In a natural shaft at Charterhouse Warren in Somerset, researchers re-examined 3,000-plus bones and discovered Britain's grimest early Bronze Age crime scene. At least 37 people, men, women, and children, were killed, systematically butchered, and, in some cases, eaten. They were then thrown 15 meters down a hole. Cut marks, chop marks, perimortem fractures, boiling evidence, and marrow extraction all point to methodical processing. Animal bones mixed in show that other food was available. This was not survival cannibalism. The research team interprets it as deliberate dehumanization of enemies, Bronze Age othering taken to its ultimate conclusion. Radiocarbon dating places it around 2200 to 2000 BCE. Taphonomy indicates a single episode. For Britain, this is unprecedented. Nothing else approaching this scale appears in the material record. Someone led whole families to slaughter. Someone knew how to butcher efficiently. Someone built fires to boil flesh from bone. Someone extracted marrow. They then threw the remains down a hole and walked away. The hole kept the secret for 4,000 years. Discovery number 10, the last barricade. We end in Pompeii, with absolute futility against geological forces. In the house of Helle and Phrixus, archaeologists uncovered a doorway blocked with a bed. 4 people, including a child, barricaded themselves in a room as Mount Vesuvius erupted from August 24th to 25th, 79 CE. The house's atrium had a roof opening for rainwater. During the eruption, it funneled volcanic debris directly inside. When pumice and ash fell, the family shoved furniture against the door. They must have thought the barricade would help. The final pyroclastic surge, a superheated gas flow moving at hurricane speed, rolled through. The barricade didn't matter. Everyone died where they huddled, preserved where they fell. The home takes its name from wall art depicting Helle and Phrixus. mythological siblings fleeing disaster. The art foretold the reality. What makes this heartbreaking isn't the death. Vesuvius killed thousands. It's the hope embedded in that barricaded door. Someone thought it would work, and 1945 years later, archaeologists found them exactly where they made their last stand. The bed was still shoved against the door. Courage, hope, and a volcano that cared about neither. 10 discoveries. 10 windows into moments when ancient humans faced violence and darkness that leaves traces in soil and bone. None of these finds are comfortable. They don't conform to sanitized history, where the past was somehow gentler than our violent present. But that's why they matter. These discoveries humanize ancient peoples, because humans have always been capable of remarkable kindness and horrifying cruelty, often in the same community. The woman cradling her severed head, pillars with faces staring across 12,000 years, bodies bound and buried face down, altars with drainage for sacrifice, arrows frozen in bone, mass graves, curses delivered by the dead, bog bodies missing skulls, methodical cannibalism, futile barricades against volcanoes. Each discovery reveals something about how humans organized violence, processed death, and created meaning from darkness. As archaeologists, we document these with scientific precision. As humans, we recognize the faces in these stories because they are us, separated only by time. You might like my e-booklet, Why Ancient History Matters. It's free for anyone who wants it. Link in the description. Sleep well and be grateful the worst chapters of human history stay safely buried, speaking only through bone and stone. Though sometimes you might wonder what's still buried, what hasn't been discovered yet. The past isn't done with us. Catch you later.